Hey, how you doing you all? In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto all Yu-Gi-Oh harem cards? Part 1, and if you want more then please leave a like, share and subscribe. Let's get in the video. Yugi, Joey, and Serenity walked down a pathway through the park. Things had really changed over the past few months. The pharaoh, Atem, had left for the afterlife for his own time. T had left the group and pretty well disappeared afterward, and now even Tristan was beginning to distance himself from the group. He had started to go out with Miho and just didn't seem to have the time for the rest of them. Mai had contacted the group, and she was back in their lives, much to Joey's happiness, though he still wondered why Tristan was using Miho as an excuse to get out of hanging out with them. Mai was more high maintenance and she loved hanging with them. Yugi felt as if it were all returning to the way it was before the Millennium Puzzle. Soon, he believed, he would have no one and be all alone again. It was already starting. Atem was gone, T was gone, Tristan was leaving, and it was all a matter of time before the rest left him. He could almost curse himself for ever trusting anyone, but he also knew that without them he never would have survived the last few years, nor would he be as strong as he was. Yugi jumped as an arm was slung over his thin shoulders. "You wanna come over ladder, Yug? Dad ain't around for the next few days, so we got it to ourselves. Plus it's summer break. Time to relax a lil. And you, of all people, need it." "I wouldn't want to be a bother, Joey. I'm sure you have other things you would rather be doing than having me over to be in the way," came the boy's quiet reply. "Yugi, you could never be a bother. We would love for you to stay a couple of days, huh, big brother?" Serenity added in. "O' course. Dude, we really need to get you out of da shop for a while. You're getting depressed again. You're using dat voice you used when we first met. Dat quiet, unsure, shy voice. You're worrying me, bro." "I'm sorry I'm worrying you, Joey. It's just, I've had a lot of strange thoughts going through my head lately. I mean, I'm seeing everything reverting back to how it was before I solved the puzzle. Those I thought cared about me left me behind. And every time that thought comes to mind, I can't help but wonder how long it is until I lose everyone," Yugi admitted. "Yug, you ain't gotta worry about losing us. You're da best thing dat Eva happened to us. Dere's no way we could Eva turn our backs on ya, bro. And as far as da oaths go, well, dey made dear decision and now dey are gonna have ta live wit, it, more or less. I suppose. It's still something that haunts me, I guess. I just don't want to hold out too much hope, you know." Yugi sighed and sat down under a tree. He was slightly surprised when Serenity sat beside him and put her arms around him, pulling him close to her. His face lit up with a small blush, but he decided to let himself be comforted for now. In Joey's mind he could picture himself smacking Tristan in the back of the head, chewing out tea, though he would like to hit her. And actually punching the pharaoh. He had been the closest, and the blonde could remember Yugi telling him once that Atem had swore to always be by the small teen's side, and now look. Yugi was depressed and the jerk was long gone. Joey sighed. He knew it wasn't really the pharaoh's fault, but he needed to blame someone for the living picture of Yugi in front of him. He did smirk a little though at the scene. He liked the idea of his best bro with his little sister. It was always an idea he played with in the back of his mind and was always happy with the end result. Serenity couldn't believe she had been so bold as to actually take the sad boy into her arms, but she couldn't help it. He needed comfort and a simple pat on the back wasn't going to help. On the plus side, she did get to find out the feeling of having him in her arms, something she greatly enjoyed. Her crush on him was definitely growing, but at this point she didn't care, nor try to stop it. Yugi had done so much for her and her brother, and he never asked for anything in return except being his friend, but that was easily arranged. Suddenly, all thought processes stopped as the group felt a tug on their spirits and bodies. A bright blue light shot down upon them, blinding the three. They could hear what seemed to be electricity popping all around them, and had the feeling of moving without leaving their spots. Then voices began to ring in their heads. "Master, we don't have much time, but all will be explained soon. For now, rest as you will need the energy once we are finished with our tasks." Each heard a different voice with the same message, but before they could ponder upon the meaning of what was said they began to feel drowsy and soon all three were asleep. Three figures stepped out of the light surrounding them, covered in their own blinding lights. One blue, one red, and one gold. The blue figure stepped over to Joey's sleeping body. From within the creature two lights emerged. Judge of Innocence, You shall hold the key to the soul and the ability to judge one's heart. You weigh one's life and show them the way of change, though you do not have the power to make them change. I also grant you my power over the warriors and beast warriors. Together you shall fight to protect those that are weak and those that are close to your own heart. Your guardians shall be myself, Junpei the Flame Swordsman, Anji the Axe Raider, and Hattori the Red Eyes Black Dragon. We shall fight by your side through each of you coming trails. Once your skills have awakened you shall be able to call upon me. The others have free range and will come on their own in times of trouble for you. Take care of this power and do not let it go to waste. With that said, the two lights enter the blonde and the blue figure nodded, fading away. The red figure stepped over to Serenity's sleeping body. From within the majestic creature emerged two more lights. Gentle seer, you shall hold the ability to see a person's inner self and true intentions and have the gift of hindsight and future sight. You will be able to tell those close to you where they have strayed from their path. Lies are useless to you as you shall see the underneath of the underneath, and truths are open books to you. I also grant you my power over all female fighters, be they humans or beasts. Your guardians will be myself, Mana the Dark Magician Girl, Rangaku the Harpy Lady, and Chihiro the Mystical Elf. We shall fight by your side during the coming trails. Once your skills have fully manifested themselves within you, I shall be able to be called upon. The others have free range and will come on their own to your side if trouble comes. Take care of this power and do not let it go to waste. With that said, the two lights entered the girl and the red figure nodded, fading away. The final figure, one of the brightest gold, stepped over to Yugi's sleeping body. From within this mighty creature's body emerged three more lights. My king, you hold a pure heart and the power of light. You have the ability to unite others and show them the goodness around them. You shall have the power to banish the tainting of a person's soul and unlock them from their dark bindings. You will be able to locate any that you put your mind on, and control any enemy to help those you hold precious. You will hold entire command of the Shadow Realm. All monsters, magic, and traps are at your call. Together you shall fight to keep those you deem worthy within the light and under your protection. Your guardians shall be myself, Mahado the Dark Magician, Koro the Karibo, and Moroku the Magician of Black Chaos. We shall be by your side during all the upcoming trails you and those you love must face. Once your skills have been fully awakened I shall come to your call. The others shall have free range and will come at any time of trouble. Keep in mind however, only your guardians may come to you at any time before you begin training and harnessing your powers. The others shall come on rank and strength. The stronger you become, the stronger the monsters you'll be able to call. Please, take care of this power, my king, and do not let it go to waste. You are being counted upon. With that said, the three lights entered the boy and the golden figure nodded and bowed before fading away. The three teens floated to a bright blue-colored light. What was to come next was unknown, but they did know, in their sleeping state, they would face it head-on just as always. Tsunade stared at the letter in front of her. She couldn't believe what she was reading. During an everyday escort mission, there was an attack by the Akatsuki. Naruto and Gaara had gotten separated from the rest of the group, but no one knew if that was good or bad. The remainder of the group had distracted the Akatsuki, but that, too, had come at a price. Chakra depletion, severe injury, and no knowledge on the two missing ninja. The village had sent out a search party, but, as the letter read, no sign of the two had been found in over 2 weeks. The Hokage was starting to worry and get desperate to find them. Kankuro had taken over as the sub-Kazekage, but if things didn't change soon the Sand Council may see means to revoke the demon holder's title or pronounce him dead. Genma, call Kakashi and Jiraiya. I have something I need to run by them. Yes, ma'am. With that the Senbon chewing Junin headed out to find the two ninja. Within a few minutes 2 clouds of smoke appeared and dissipated around the two shinobi in question. You wanted to see us, Hokage-sama? Came a reply from behind Kakashi's mask. Yes. I was wondering if the two of you believed this situation would deem calling out some extra help. So far, we've found nothing, and I know Suna is beginning to worry over Gaara, just like we are over Naruto. I'm sure they are safe, or we would have heard from the Akatsuki by now. The boys were their last targets. But things are getting desperate. You know they were 2 of our village's strongest ninja, and we need them both back as soon as possible or there could be repercussions. Other territories may begin to make a move in on the weakened Suna and there is only so much we can help them with. I wonder if we should bring out our other realm jutsu. It may be for the best to at least try it, Tsunade. We just have to make sure we're specific with what we want. If not, well, you know what happened when it was used last time. The Biju came here, and because of that Naruto and Gaara are being hunted down and hated for something they had no say in. Jiraiya nodded with a thoughtful look upon his slightly aged face. Well, first off, we need to say those we call must be pure of heart. That way there is less chance of them going berserk and killing everything that moves. Also, they should have some kind of abilities that can aid us in our endeavors. Said endeavors should be stated until their need is finished because we may need their help in dealing with the Akatsuki and even the sound. Kakashi put in. Yeah, and a sense of friendship and that are strengthened by it, but not to the point they to where they cannot function without each other or someone else around. Tsunade added. Tracking abilities, too. Yeah, we have great trackers here, but even they are having a tough time with this. And a certain someone is getting irritated at not being allowed to go when she may be of some help. Jiraiya stared out the window in the Hokage office, taking note of said girl looking as if she were just getting ready to storm in, but was afraid she would be yelled at for wanting to help. I know Hinata wants to help, but we need her here. We sent out Neji and a few other Hyuga, so she had to stay. Plus she's still apprenticing under me and working on medical skills. I know, when you perform this jutsu, bring her. You may need what she has learned, and she'll be the best welcoming party for whatever group arrives. Tsunade smiled. Hinata stood outside the Hokage tower. She was so tired of not being able to help the search party, especially since it involved someone she cared deeply for. She wanted to go right up there and demand to go out in search of said boy, but she was afraid of what reprimand such actions would cause. She was a shy girl by nature and had little self-confidence thanks to her clan always seeing her as a weakling, and let their thoughts be known to her. She sighed. I guess I am a weakling if can't even get up the courage to ask to be allowed to search for the one person I really love. Came the girl's depressing thoughts as she began to walk away from the tower. Now I wouldn't say that, Hinata. Besides, we have just the mission for you that involves you helping us complete a just you that may just help us find that knucklehead of yours. Came a male voice from behind her. The girl eeped and spun around in surprise to see the two white-haired senseis of the boy she was thinking of. You need my help, Kakashi-sensei, Jiraiya-sama. I'll do whatever you need me to find him. Them. She blushed brightly at her mistake. Kakashi placed his hand on the 16-year-old's shoulder. Just follow us. This jutsu has to be done in private, in case something goes wrong, like last time. The Hyuga girl looked confused. What happened last time? The Biju came to our world, and QB no Kitsune attacked us. Was the only answer she received, but it was enough for her to understand what the impact could be if anything went awry. She followed the two through a set of underground tunnels that ended in a large open space akin to a vacant room. In the middle of said room was a rune inscribed in deep grooves. The two advanced shinobi stepped up to the writing, motioning for her stay back in case something went wrong and she was needed then, and began to speed through a long set of hand signs, both in deep concentration. She wondered what they were going to summon if there had been such dire consequences once before. Were things really so desperate that they had to rely on such a risky just you? That train of thought made the girl even more nervous. What if Naruto and Gaara were already in the hands of the enemy, or if someone else with ill intent had happened upon them when they were resting or injured? A bright light coming from the runes caught her eye and derailed her increasingly terrifying thoughts. Hinata noticed the two men had their hands locked in the final seal and were still concentrating on what or who they were to summon. After a few minutes of silence, 3 sharply bright lights flashed. One light blue, one bright red, and the final a brilliant gold. Kakashi and Jiraiya calmed and slumped from the chakra loss of the jutsu, but were happy there was no thrashing and destruction beginning. Kakashi motioned the girl over, and the 3 waited for the dust to settle around those summoned. When it did finally clear, the 3 were surprised by what they saw. Lying there in the middle of the circle of runes were 3 teens. 2 with their arms wrapped around each other and the third with his arms around the other 2. The 2 holding each other looked to be younger than the other, with the boy of the 2 being the youngest as he was the smallest. The oldest wore his blonde hair to his shoulders and looked to be well built and around 5 feet 11, the other boy, being the smallest, looked to only be around 5 feet 1 if that, and very thin. He wore his tri-colored hair in a star pattern of spikes, some of which framed his gentle, almost childlike face. The girl wore her auburn hair to the small of her back and framing her face. She seemed to be somewhere between the two boys in height, just closer to the smaller one, maybe 5 feet 3, and was also thin, just not as so as the smaller boy. However, the three ninja kept in mind that sight was usually deceiving and to not judge the three summoned youths until they were awake and could show just what they could do. Joey began to stir with a sharp headache and a weight in his arms. He opened his golden brown eyes and looked around, first noticing that the weight was both Yugi and Serenity, both of which were still out, then noticing that they were lying on the floor of a stone-like room covered in runes. As he continued to look around the room, he heard muffled sounds that seemed to be voices. "Hello?" came his hushed voice, afraid to wake the two in arms and cause too much of an alert with those speaking, as he still couldn't see them. That is until one walked into his view. She had long raven black hair that fell to the small of her back. The girl wore black capris and a purple hoodie, over what seemed to be a well-built body, with black high-heeled sandals. She had a kind enough face, but Joey wasn't going to let that fool him, so could darts, and he remembered the pain he caused. "Hi, how are you feeling?" the girl asked. Her voice was gentle enough, but he still wasn't sure if he could trust her. Somehow she and her friends had gotten him and his friends into this room after being knocked out in the woods in the park. After all the crazy things he and the gang had been through, he wasn't taking anything for granted. "Ju, a bit of a headache, otherwise fine. How'd you get us here anyway? Who are you? Another group out to take over da world with da help of dual monsters?" His voice was getting stronger, and he could tell he had spoke with a bite due to the way the girl flinched, that or he had her goal correct. "No, we don't even know what dual monsters are. As to whom we are and how you got here, let's wait till your friends wake up. It'll be easier to explain all at once." This came from the man who had stepped into his field of vision. His hair was white and lopped over to one side, while the headband he was wearing covered up one eye and a blue mask covered pretty much the rest of his face minus the other eye. He wore a green survival vest over a blue long-sleeve shirt, blue loose pants, black fingerless metal guard gloves, and blue sandals. Moments later another man came into view. He seemed to be older than the other two combined, but once again Joey's adventures had warned against taking him lightly. Bakura was well over 3,000 years old and could still do way too much damage, not to mention Atem's powers. "Scarecrow, go get Lady Hoka guy. She'll be able to get these two awake if they're not by the time she gets here. Otherwise, it might be best if she's here to help with our case. He doesn't seem to be very trusting, and once they wake up it might just be worse. He could be like the fox." The other man nodded in understanding of what even Joey knew was codenames. Joey's eyes swept back over the new presence. His hair was extremely long and snow white. He wore a spiked headband with the symbol of oil on it, and grayish-green stereotypical ninja clothes under a large red vest. Under the vest was large scroll. On his feet were wooden clogs with metal bracers used for the same protection the metal arm guards he wore gave. "Sunny place, why don't you check the kid out, see if you can do anything about that headache? You're probably the only one he would let near him, and the others, if he believes he could take you if you try anything to harm them." The final was said in a whisper that only the girl heard. After hearing the new codename, Joey reasoned that they were most likely the translations of the person's name, automatically believing the person either didn't know any Japanese or was fluent in it, seeing as the rest Joey could understand and knew to be his close friend's main language and his except when dealing with his father. He noticed the girl shyly walk up to him and reach her arm out. He wanted to pull away, but with being weak and having the others in his arms, he couldn't. She placed her hand gently on his forehead, and a green glow began to shine from it. An instant later his headache was gone, as was most of the weakness. Once the girl stepped back, he removed his arms and stood, taking a protective stance over the two still sleeping. Waiting for 20 minutes for the group to awaken didn't really prepare the two ninja for such an amount of warning killer intent, and they figured the team didn't even realize he was sending it out. The young man's body was well built, if not a little thin. He seemed to be able to talk big and back it up. He was indeed the 5 feet 11 they thought he was. His dirty blonde hair fell into his eyes and down his neck to brush his shoulder blades. His golden brown eyes were alight with a determined protective fire. Everything about him screamed to leave him and his friends alone, or they would pay. "Calm down, kid. We aren't going to hurt you. If we were, Sunny Place would have done it while she was healing you, and you were weak, Jiraiya stated. Yeah right. Heard Dad before. You really don't know who you trying to deal with, the blonde countered. And it was true. To have such a strong aura and not be intimidated by the power they were sending out, especially the Junin and Sannin. This did worry them some, and they prepared themselves for a fight if he decided to attack. That is of course until a gentle voice rang out softly. Joey, it's okay. Back down. They won't hurt us, I can feel it. The blonde spun around to look at the two still lying down. You sure, bro? The smallest of the three slowly stood while nodding and helped the girl to her feet as she, too, was awake. When the ninja's eyes landed on the small boy, the first thing that came to both their minds was oddly enough, so cute. He was small, their estimated 5 feet 1 and very thin, even with the small amount of muscle viewable. Of course the black leather jeans didn't really help his size any. His hair was the wildest the two had ever seen, tri-colored and star-shaped. But his eyes were what caught both of them. The amethyst orbs seemed to almost glow in the nearly non-existent light. They held an innocence that was not seen in one of his age, not even in non-ninja teens, but as a direct contrast there was a wisdom and power that not even one as experienced as Jiraiya could match. A shiver made its way down both their backs. They understood if they were to fight the boy, no matter the outcome, they would not come out unscathed. The girl had a gentle look, but her eyes, too, held an innocence, but she was also the youngest, they could now tell. Even though, her eyes still held a mild wisdom and strength, but not on the boy's level. She, too, was thin and at the height they had guessed, but now they could tell that she and the first boy to awaken were related in some way. All of a sudden, the doors opened, alerting the group to another set of presences. Joey recognized one, but the other two he hadn't had the pleasure of meeting yet, so he once again stood protectively in front of his little sister and best friend, his aura flaring out unknowing again. What the heck did you do to them to make them that angry, pervert? Came a female's voice. Of course the codename caught the three off guard and the one in question to groan. Princess, why did you have to call me that in front of our guests? Said man whined. Because you were, and since Fox isn't around no one is here to warn them about you. The woman who had spoke stepped into view. She had long blonde hair and 2 pigtails flowing down her back. She wore a GI top and a pair of dark capris. Over the GI she wore a jacket with the symbol for gamble on the back. Her brown eyes showed she had power, even for the seemingly young age, but Joey wasn't going to back down. On her forehead, a blue diamond was centered. Can y'all stop using codenames now? It's getting irritating, Joey said, catching the quarreling two's attention. They both looked surprised as the older white-haired one spoke up. You knew we weren't using our real names? I may not have gotten dat good a grades in school, but I ain't dat dumb. Luck ain't da only thing dat got me ta bind da third greatest duelist in da world. Anyway, y'all said you were gonna do introductions after dat, Scarecrow. Dude got back. Well, he's here, so let's get started on why da heck you kidnapped us out da woods. Joey's voice was strong, causing the blonde woman to smile somewhat gently. So, this is the one you said had an aura like Naruto? Do you feel it too, Hinata? The blonde-haired woman asked, looking, first at the younger silver-haired man, then to the shy girl. The girl nodded slowly. Yes, they are similar, Hokage-sama, but their mannerisms are not all in line. Check their chakra capacities while we do introductions. After she got a nod, she began again, though Joey was a little creeped out by the young girl's eyes after she activated them. My name is Tsunade, and I am the leader of this village. I am the one that asked these two to call upon you. We'll get to why you're here in a minute. This is Jiraiya, Kakashi Hitaki, Hinata Hyuga, Shizune, and Taunton. The woman motioned to each of the people as she gave their names. The last person was a woman with long brown hair, falling down her shoulders, blue eyes that held a calm and gentleness when looking at the three. She wore a simple blue kimono with a blue sash and blue capris with black sandals. In her arms was small pig wearing a blue vest and blue beads. This caught the friends off guard some. Yugi stepped forward and bowed to the group, the others following suit, though Joey still had his suspicions. It's nice to meet you. My name is Yugi Moto. This is my best friend, Joey Wheeler, and his little sister, Serenity. Can you now tell us why you have taken us from our world and brought us here? Everyone eyed the boy with varying forms of shock. What do ya mean, taken us from our world, Yug? Dis a form of Da Shadow Realm or something? I mean just that, Joey. But this doesn't feel like the Shadow Realm, plus we weren't met here by Mahado, and you know he would have been here as soon as we got here if that were the case. However, I do know this is not our home. It feels different here. More energy is in the air. The boy's face took on a look of contemplation. Anyo. Hokage-sama. You wanted to know about their chakra capacities? Well, Joey here has a large amount, nearly equal to Kakashi-sensei. Serenity is closer to my reserves, but Yugi is edging closer to Gaara-sama or Naruto-kun even. Hinata said in her usual small voice, that reminded Joey a lot of Yugi's when they first met and earlier in what he believed that day. Tsunade's eyes widened at the news. Thank you, Hinata. That is quite surprising. Yugi, do you know of any reason you would have that large of chakra reserves? I'm not quite sure I know what you mean by chakra, so I don't know of any reason, Yugi answered. Shizune finally stepped up to speak. Chakra is the combination of life and spiritual energy that is formed within the body and strengthened through training and experience. Ninja use it to perform ninjutsu, genjutsu, and to empower their kenjutsu and taijutsu. Over time the reserves increase with use of it and through certain exercises. I wonder if our adventures had anything to do with it. I mean, we did most of it with by ourselves. Except for da stuff dat da items, could only do. I mean, we nearly all been to Da Shadow Realm at one point in time or another. Especially you, Yug. I mean you got Da most shadow magic at dat. Maybe Da monsters did something to convert our magic to dis chakra stuff. Joey reasoned. That is very possible, Joey. I just wish Mahado or one of the others would show up and explain things to us. For now we will have to settle with your idea, Joey. It's all we have to go on. Now, would you please tell us why we are here? Tsunade-sama. Yugi looked up at the woman, who nodded. We have called you here to ask for your assistance. We have a ninja missing that means a great deal to this village and another village's leader, the ninja before's close friend. They were separated from the rest of the escort due to an attack. There is presently an organization after the two because of circumstances neither had any say in. Also, there is another village pushing to start a war with this village, and the leader is a vile man who enjoys using humans for experimentation for his own immortality. He has already caused this village much heartache, as well as those two ninja that are missing. Tsunade explained. Yugi nodded and seemed to begin considering what she wanted. I'm guessing the reason you are leaving out facts is because of the possibility of us not helping? Tsunade nodded. I'm not too sure about this, Yug. I mean we kinda already retired from da whole Savin da world thing when he was set free. Joey's eyes showed worry and mild apprehension. But, Joey, we can't just let them go. They went through all this to get help. I'm sure something that used this much energy had to be a last-ditch effort. This was their last resort. Serenity voiced. Yugi still seemed to be thinking about what to do. On one hand these people did need their help and it wouldn't be right to just blow them off, but then again he didn't want his friends harmed as they were during the duel battles. All of a sudden a begging, tearful voice made the Duel King's mind up for him. Please, you have to help us. Naruto-kun needs us, and he never turns his back on those he needs. He's always been alone, but you must help us find him and show him we aren't just leaving him to be taken. They'll kill him if they get their hands on him, just like they almost killed Gaara-sama. Please, I have to know he's okay. The ninja of the room looked away sadly, while the others looked shocked. Serenity figured out why her plea was so earnest first. He's dear to you, isn't he? You love him. The girl nodded. And I hate to see that awful look on Iruka-sensei's face every time one of our search parties return, and they don't have him with them. I'll help. I can't speak for Joey or Serenity, but I will. To help someone in need is a lesson that Atem taught me well during that small time we were together. Yugi stated assuredly. Joey sighed. Yeah, like I'd back down after dat beg. Besides, I can't stand to let a girl cry and not try to do anything about it. You know I'm in. I can finally be of some help in one of the adventures you guys have. No way am I backing down from this. Serenity intoned. The relief was almost instantaneously spread on the faces of those gathered. All of a sudden a man in strange black and white armor with a bird mask on teleported in, Hokage-sama. The search team has returned. With that said, he flickered from existence. Well, let's go see if they found anything. Tsunade motioned for the group to follow her. Once outside, Yugi and his friends noticed that they were in a large village, one they could easily get lost in. The ground was a mix of cobblestone and yellow sandy dirt. The village was surrounded by large, thick walls, and around that was a large forest. The village looked much like the pictures of an old-day Japan mixed with modern-day technology. They followed the ninjas to a large tower in the middle of the city. It was red and yellow with a somewhat thin wall surrounding it. Behind it was a huge monument with 5 heads sculpted into its side. Yugi deduced the faces must be of those that led the village in the past and present because he recognized the 5th as the woman leading them then. Upon arrival at the tower, they also noticed a young man with a nasty-looking scar across the bridge of his nose pacing in front of the gate. He wore an outfit much the same as Kakashi with the exception of the mask and his headband sitting correctly on his forehead. His skin held a natural dark tan, close to that of Merrick, and his dark brown hair was pulled up in a high ponytail that spiked upwards at the same time as falling around the base of his head. His thin eyebrows were knitted in worry, while his soft brown eyes screamed it. Iruka-sensei. You heard about the search party? Hinata rushed up to the man who had now stopped pacing and looked upon her with gentle eyes. I asked the Anbu to notify him when each returns. He is the closest thing to a father Naruto has ever had, Tsunade stated. And he is the son I wish to have someday. If only the stupid Ouncil hadn't killed my bid for adoption of him. Anyway, I arrived as soon as I could leave my class. Shikamaru wasn't too happy about it, but he understood at least. Apparently Tamari is here and is hassling him for information when there is none to give. Hopefully that won't be the case this time. The young man mentally took note of the newcomers, but decided there was more pressing matters than why the 3 of them were following the Hokage. Besides, if she wanted them to know, she'd tell them. Tsunade nodded in agreement. Let's hope. Follow me, and we'll hear their report. Once again they were following the group, this time into the tower and up a flight of stairs to a guarded office that a group of people were standing outside of. Tsunade walked between the group and to the door, opening it and ushering everyone in, the gang included. When everyone was inside, the blonde woman stepped behind her desk and sat in her chair. Report, was her one-word order. A deep brown-haired boy stepped forward. A relative of Hinata's was concluded by his eyes and the way he looked over at her. Hokage-sama, we found remnants of a battle that seemed to be a few days old. However, shortly after, the trail ran cold. I could no longer sense the chakra residue nor could Kiba gain any scent. We know it to have been the 2, and we believe them to be hiding themselves now due injury. The largest amount of blood was not either of theirs. However, each missing ninja's blood was at the scene of the struggle as well as a couple of days' trail from the area. The trail ends at a river. We believe the 2 cleaned up it and used to hide their scent. Also, we believe Naruto taught Gaara how to hide his chakra signature so they cannot be found by the enemy while they are weakened. Thank you, Neji. At least we know they are still together and can still fight, if a bit weakened. This just means we need to put more people out on the search to canvass the area you last sensed them. Is there anything else to report? Tsunade looked a little relieved at the news. This time a feral-looking boy stepped forward. His dark brown hair was wild atop his head but was clean cut. Down his face was a red triangular mark under each of his brown eyes, and when he smiled, the group could see slightly elongated canines that seemed to fit his look. At his side was a large white dog that looked as if the boy could ride him like a small horse. In both their scents there was a mixing of another animal that's never been that strong before. On Naruto's blood, I could smell a strong scent of fox, and on Gaara there was the powerful scent of raccoon dog. I think they have either merged with them as to keep their opponents at bay or to hide themselves, or the respective creature took them over when they were in trouble. I'm not sure to the extent the merging has occurred, but I know it's there. Tsunade's face changed from relieved to worried and fearful in the matter of moments. Are you sure about this, Kiba? The team nodded. This may be more serious than we originally thought. We have to find them as soon as possible. I'll have the new search team set up by tonight. Dismissed. As the others filed out of the room, the search team leader walked up to Hinata. His head was hung low. I am sorry, Hinata-sama. I promised I would bring him back to you, but I have failed. No you haven't, Neji-Nisan. You helped to find his trail. You have had the greatest luck in locating him and giving us a direction along with hope. Thank you so much. The girl hugged the boy, who blushed due to everyone watching including the gang. Yes, Neji. Don't sell yourself and your team short. You've gotten closer than any other group so far. Tsunade agreed. Naruto is my friend, in a way, my first. He opened my eyes and led me out of the darkness that was consuming me all those years ago because of my family. I owe him this, Neji replied. Well, we have called for backup. I'm sure you've all noticed the newcomers behind you. These kids have been called from another dimension and have agreed to assist us in locating both Naruto and Gaara as well as helping us with our snake problem. Please, if you three would, introduce yourselves. Tsunade motioned to the three friends who looked put on the spot. The smallest stepped forward first and bowed. My name is Yugi Mouto. In my world, I'm known as the Game King because of my strategic abilities, and with the help of my friends I have been through many trails due to my most favored game. The other boy stepped forward next, pointing his thumb at himself and smirking. Da name's Joey Wheeler. In my world, I'm Da third greatest duelist in Da world third Ta Yug here anyway. I get through on my great skills that come from behind strategies and my dueling know-how. The blonde's chest was puffed out throughout his speech, hoping to impress the new group. Doesn't that really mean you just have really good luck, came the feral boy's voice. Joey deflated from pride and puffed back up from anger, his face turning slightly red. EY. You don't know da kinda crap we went through on a daily basis starting a few years back and ending we thought a few months ago. Don't start with me. I was hoppin' I could get away from people with dat moneybags attitude, but I guess they are everywhere. Yeah, right. You little loser. Gaming babies are the ones that don't know anything. The chunin and lower of this village either have one parent dead or orphans because of their parents' duties. When you have to deal with killing and death on a daily basis and watching others suffer without being able to help, come and yell at me about no and loss. Kiba fired back. Joey began to seethe and his killing intent shot through the roof. Everyone noticed it, except the newcomers, and it worried them. Try having to be afraid dat da only parent you got left. Da Otha abandoned you while talking at dat time da only reason you were living. Cause you never knew just when they were gonna decide to go gamblin' and lose everything. Get drunk. Den beat da crap outta ya cause they figured it was somehow your fault. Or never getting to see your sibling cause your parents try to kill each other every time they see each other. Or how about losing both your parents cause you were a sick baby and they didn't want ya cause to dem you were too weak. How's dat? Need more? How about? Joey, that's enough. Interrupted Yugi's soft voice. But, Yug, they just act like they know everything. You've had your soul ripped from your body a bunch of times, including being shattered dat one time against Pegsy and being control against ya closest friend. I had ta fight mind control. My soul bine either nearly ripped from me or it being swallowed by dat monster. Da pain from bine attacked by Ra and watching my lose ta Merrick. Losing you den listening to his heartbroken self-loathing cries each night and stopping mine cause it'd only hurt him more, thus hurting you. I had ta watch as you gave up dat duel dat almost killed da both of us cause of da anchor. Den dear was dat time when I was sent to da graveyard as da flame swordsman and almost died at da hands of da reaper of cards and den thinking of you bine controlled to kill all of us. I felt so useless when you fought panic and dat fire surrounded you. Den I can only imagine what Ren felt like through all dat, not bine able ta help cause she ain't a duelist. Da way she was crying when she told us dat Tristan had given himself up ta protect her and Duke and losing his body to dat big 5 dude den coming back as a metal chimp. They got no right ta think they are better than us. Da Shadow Realm, even from what little I know, is more horrible than they could ever imagine. Yes, I know that, Joey, but they don't. To them, we are just trespassers in their world. They don't know what we are capable of, so it's obvious that they'll look down on us. I understand that, and as you've pointed out to them, I'm used to it. Just calm down, Joey. Besides, you're scaring all of them for some reason. I think the shadow magic I gave you is seeping out, and they can sense it. We all need to work on Kotral anyway. I'm sure Mahato will explain it to me as soon as he can, but for now, just calm down and let them decide what they feel about us after they see with their own eyes what we can do. Yugi's voice was gentle and quiet, but held a feel of authority. I know, Yug, but you know how I get when people cut us down, especially you. I just wish someone would explain all this to us. More than what Tsunade told us. I get even more defensive when I'm confused. Joey relented. Yep, just like Naruto. Kiba smirked. So I'm guessing that this squirt is the leader, and you're the attack mutt. I wouldn't talk much, dog boy. And you're just as much in need of chastising as Joey here. You were the one with the snide comment that started this all. Now if you would allow our final guest to introduce herself, maybe we can get to how they can help us, and how we can help them. Tsunade cut in. She didn't want an all-out fight because her subordinate wouldn't shut up, especially since it was as Yugi stated. They didn't know the extent of this group's power. Oh, well, I'm Joey's little sister, Serenity. I don't have a title or anything. Actually, I was never really involved in many of their adventures before or after Battle City because I was going blind. Fortunately, Yugi won Duelist Kingdom and gave my brother the listed monetary winnings for my surgery and other medical bills. I wasn't in it for the money, Serenity. I was there to rescue Grandpa and the Kaiba brothers. Besides, you both needed it more than I did. Yugi blushed at the praise. Exactly how much was this sum given away? Came a stoic voice from beside Hinata. Joey smirked. 3 million American dollars. Pegsy is still paying me for dat tourney. Technically, he's paying the both of us then, because with what he gave me afterwards for that and the other incidents, coupled with my investments in Kaiba Corp. And Sito's payments more like payoffs. Joey for the incidents involving him and his company plus his tournaments, I'll have plenty to keep on fueling more investments in both companies. Yugi said, ending a bit sheepishly after giving Joey an admonishing look. The other group's eyes were wide. This kid just gave away $3 million to a friend because they only needed it for one thing. Two things went through their minds. This kid is a saint, or this kid is an idiot. At least we got the purity we were wanting. Someone to do a thing such as that has a deep sense of friendship and innocence. We were given what we asked for. Asterisk came Jiraiya's thoughts. Let's go outside, and you three can prove to us what you were saying wasn't just running off at the mouth bragging. Tsunade stood and headed toward the door with her subordinates following close behind. The gang looked at each other and sighed. Now they had to show off their shadow magic, and they weren't even sure they could trust all of the people ahead of them. It was going to be a long day. Tsunade led the group out to one of the village's larger training grounds. There was where the test of the newcomers would commence. Yugi shook. He was afraid of what they were going to have to do. He knew in hand-to-hand combat Joey would be fine, all the time as a gang member, and the formal training as of late showed that. He, himself, wouldn't be too bad if he could make himself use what Atem had ingrained into his memory of his Egyptian training. He was worried about Serenity, but they would protect her no matter what. His biggest concern was a magic battle. He still felt his shadow magic coursing through him and knew how to control it, but as far as he knew, Joey and Serenity didn't know such control because they weren't trained yet. After 10 minutes they had finally reached their destination. A large open field surrounded by trees that shaded the area well. The forest and shade was perfect for the hiding of ninja, but Yugi had other plans. Like the top-ranked duelist he had already assessed the basic fighting style of each member of this group, all from the way they held themselves and walked, and was thinking of strategies all the way to the grounds. He was sure what traps to lay, who to summon, and which spell cards to use. He just hoped Joey was prepared. 3 of the ninja, 2 males and 1 female, stepped to one side. Kakashi motioned to Yugi and his friends to go to the other side. The gang exchanged glanced and knew just what to do. Wait for the other group to start, and then follow Yugi's lead. Both groups stared at each other. The ninja had sent out Kiba, a boy in green spandex, and a blonde-haired girl. Kiba was practically snarling while the green-clad one performed a few stretches, and the blonde flipped her hair back and took an enticingly sensual stance, blowing a quick kiss towards the 2 boys. Yugi's group paid no attention to the distraction techniques as Yugi and Joey's minds had already went to duel mode, while Serenity concentrated on her brother and friend. Yugi and Kiba were both at the head of their respective groups. Yugi's hand was near his deck, and he slipped into a minor Egyptian fighting stance, confusing the ninja. Joey smirked and fell into a loose fighting stance that combined street fighting and martial arts. Serenity stood at attention, waiting for a signal from the others. Kiba stood cockily in front of his group, his dog standing defensively beside him. Lee stood in his iron fist stance, waiting. Joey blinked and the other group disappeared into the woods. Keep together, guys. They're fast, but we have our own advantages, Yugi warned. The small teen pulled a card from his deck and concentrated his shadow magic into it. Come forth, basic insect. And I placed 2 cards on the field. Now let's see what we're up against. As soon as the basic insect was called, a green blur flew into the woods, but nothing else happened. The ninja hiding were confused as to what the boy had done. That is until they heard scratching in the trees ahead of them. They all fell into defensive positions, ready for one of the teens to come at them. What they weren't expecting was a giant praying mantis to jump out, slashing at each person. One of its sword-like arms hit its mark on Ino's arm, and the girl yelped trying to fight back. The giant bug jumped back before she could hit it with her kunai. It began to retreat, having the 3 ninja follow. Once coming to a certain area, it stopped, and the ninja followed suit. Ino had healed her wound by that time and was ready for revenge. All of a sudden the creature gave a loud screech, startling the group. Back in the field, Yugi smiled at the sign, or rather shriek, from his monster. I activate Trap Hole and Insect Cannon LV. 5 which I'll equip to my basic insect. Those on the sidelines were confused and wondering what the boy was doing and why until they heard the ninja scream out. Nice one, Yug, they weren't expectin' dat, Joey laughed out. Yeah, but it won't keep them for long. We need to get a more solid plan of attack. Now any ideas as to what we should do? Yugi kept his senses up, waiting for anything to happen to his insect. Before anyone could say anything, Yugi flinched. Get ready, they're coming, Yugi warned. The other 2 nodded, just as the other group appeared. Yugi and his friends prepared themselves, but weren't expecting the blonde to perform a hand sign upon arriving. Each one felt something hit them, entering. Yugi followed the feeling, having entered the hall to his soul so many times in the past. Ino looked around herself, surprised to find herself in a hall of sorts. In front and behind her, the hall stretched on into darkness, forever. On each side was a door, one slightly ajar. The other was closed tight and dusty as if it had not been opened in months. She felt drawn to the old iron and stone door. Yugi stood in the hallway he missed so much, and part of him was waiting for the pharaoh to appear and ask him where he had been. The boy felt a calming, welcoming breeze. He smiled wistfully and began to walk forward to find the intruder of his spirit. What is this place? Of all the minds I've entered, none have looked like this. Yugi heard a murmured voice say in awe. He stepped up behind the girl that was trying to open the sealed door. No one is home at the moment. You are about a couple of months late. However, I'd be careful if I were you, as the realm and the monsters of it do not take kindly to those that trespass upon someone else's soul, especially not mine and the remnants of his. If you would, please, tell me how got here and why, I would be very appreciative. The blonde-haired girl jumped away from the door as if she were on fire, surprised that anyone was there. How did you get in here? Ino yelped. I asked you the same question, but I'll answer first. This is the hallway of my soul. I recognized the pull your trick had on my mind as I've visited this place many times over the years. This is the hallway between the 2 rooms of the 2 souls that once inhabited my body. My other self has gone, but he's still a part of me. Now, tell me your side before my guardians come to punish you. The moment the boy had entered his soul hall, the memory of Ra explaining his power came to him. Though, I guess I should thank you for helping me to remember what was spoken to me before coming here. Ino just stood for a second, not speaking, still wanting to know what was going on. It's a family jutsu that we perform to stop enemies, learn their secrets, and then kill them if need be. Well, this mind won't let you discover secrets you aren't meant to see. I'm guessing you've never run into anyone that has the ability, or rather the practice, of putting up blocks of keeping people out of their mind. However, I'm sure you've never dealt with someone with mental defenses like these. As soon as the boy said that, a purple-clad, brown-haired, tan-skinned mage appeared. My king, is this woman trying to cause you harm? Mahado, first, please don't treat me like you're my servant. You know me well enough to know I don't like things like that. You're my friend. Second, I think she was just trying to learn secrets to keep her friends safe. But you know how dangerous the secrets locked in here can be. They've destroyed many good people because they couldn't control what they have learned. I don't want her hurt, but I also don't want another Malik. Yugi explained. Mahado nodded and turned towards the girl. You will not bring harm to my young master and friend. I am one who is charged to protect him and guide him. Leave now, or I will force you to leave, and it shall not be gentle." She looked defiant and took a defensive stance, but all courage drained when the mage began to charge his weapon full of dark magic and was preparing to fire. "Kai!" Ino shouted as she performed the correct hand sign, sending her out of the hall of the boy's soul. Yugi hugged the mage, who smiled and returned the gesture, ruffling his already messy hair. The others have also dealt with her and remember what each of the respective god monsters told them before being pulled to this world. "Now go, little one. I will be there, by your side in this fight." The small teen nodded, closed his eyes, and, as a tear fell from his eye, willed him out of the hall. When his eyes opened, he looked around. Mahado was standing beside him, smiling down at him. Joey was shaking his head as if trying to clear it with the flame swordsman at his side, who nodded to the young man before he turned worried eyes back to the blonde. Yugi turned to check on Serenity and found her holding her head in pain while Mana stood nervously beside her. The girl's knees began to buckle, and Yugi rushed to her side just in time to catch her. She leaned heavily against him, weak and unstable. "What happened, Serenity? What did she do to you, Master Yugi? I didn't get there fast enough." The girl attacked Serenity and cut her arm in her spirit form. "She's hurt now, and I can't help her. I'm sorry, my king." Mana was bouncing from booted foot to booted foot. "I'll take care of her, Mana, don't worry. You help Mahado against the ninja, okay?" The blonde-haired mage nodded and ran to her sensei at the same time Joey rushed over to them. He growled at seeing blood seep from her arm and from the corner of her mouth. "Sis," Joey worriedly mumbled. "I've got her, Joey, and I can heal her. I need you to help our monsters in keeping those four distracted," Yugi assured. Joey sighed, nodded, and turned toward the ninja, his killer intent flaring wildly. He glared at each one but his eyes landed on Kiba. "I don't beat up on girls. Do right bout now I'd like Ta make an exception. But I ain't gonna start now, so I'll take it out on Da one dat underestimated us da most." Kiba smirked, but it was mostly to cover how worried he was over these strange beings and how Ino was thrown out of each of their minds too rather violently. Lee had a feeling things were getting out of hand and didn't really want to fight these people that were sent to help them find their friends and fight their enemies alongside them. Yugi knelt by the girl, her still cradled in his arms. He mumbled something in ancient Egyptian, causing the third eye to shine upon his forehead. He began to glow with a white, gentle light that began to pulsate and cover Serenity's wound and seemed to repair her mind and spirit. At the sight of the light, Ino began to get nervous and panic. She ripped out a kunai and began to run over to the defenseless pair in order to stop whatever the boy was doing. Mana noticed and flew in front of her, stopping the blonde. "You will not stop my master from healing what you did to my charge." Mana cried out, conjuring up a strong wind to blow the other blonde back before running after her. The two girls exchanged blows wand for kunai for quite a while before Mana jumped back, charging for a light magic attack. She blasted it forth and connected with Ino before the other girl could react. What the female mage wasn't expecting was the kunai that was flying toward her. It hit her in the chest sooner than she could block it. The blonde mage slowly made her way over to her king and charge, checking on them both. She smiled gently when she saw Yugi was almost done healing Serenity. With that knowledge she closed her eyes as the wound caused the life energy and shadow magic she had taken from Serenity to sustain herself dissipate into nothingness, returning to the realm of shadows. Mahado saw her go and smiled in the direction before turning around and facing the green-clad ninja, who looked just a tad bit apprehensive to fight. "Will you stand down, young one?" the elder mage asked. "It is Tsunade-sama's request that we fight you to test your skills, so I must, even if I do not wish to harm one who was brought here to aid us," Lee replied, sliding into his iron fist stance. "I will admit, you are all formidable opponents, and I cannot wait until we are battling on the same side." Mahado nodded in agreement and poised for an attack, waiting on the boy he already knew had a great speed on his side. By the use of some imagined or silent signal the boy disappeared for his sight, but he just closed his eyes, listening for him to strike. When he heard the wind bend to the boy's attack, the mage brought up his staff, both blocking the kick and catching Lee off guard. As Mahado swung his staff at the boy's head, Lee jumped back, blocking the attack and coming in for more strikes. The two exchanged blows for quite a while, But Mahodo had large advantage over Lee. Unless he took too great a hit, he released himself, or Yugi released him, he never got tired. Lee, on the other hand, looked as if he were ready to call it quits, even if he didn't want to give up. All it took was one misstep from Lee and the mage used a sleeping spell on him, dropping him where he stood. Mahodo picked the, now, sleeping boy up and brought him over to where Yugi was working, guarding the two teens from any attacks that may come at them. Meanwhile, Joey and Junpei faced off against Kiba and Akamaru. Junpei kept the giant dog busy with flame salamandras from his sword. Joey and Kiba traded PN chess and kicks with fierce vigor. Joey was getting in a few good hits, bruising up the dog trainer's arms and torso, but the other's claw-like nails were doing their damage to his clothes, arms, and face. Joey shot up a roundhouse aimed straight for Kiba's head, but the dog boy ducked below it, aiming for the blonde's now open gut. What Kiba wasn't expecting was for Joey to jerk his leg down in a stomp style while swinging his upper body into a reverse punch, catching him right between the eyes and sending him tumbling a couple of feet. Akamaru was going to take this a chance to get Joey from behind, but a searing flame from Junpei's blade had him jumping to safety, only to be hit with the hilt of the sword due to not paying attention to where his attacker was. Junpei had sent the flame out in curved dragon formation, staying just where he knew the dog would dodge to. The flame swordsman returned his attention to the fight between their two masters just in time to see Kiba holding Joey in a lock with a kunai to his throat, and Joey with a card in his free hand. Junpei recognized it as the kunai with chain magic card. Just as the blonde was about to call forth the magic from the card, Tsunade called a stop to the fight. "You got off easy, loser." Kiba smirked. "Nah, actually you did. See, Junpei had already taken out Ya Lil Puppy, and once I activated this magic card, I would have increased his strength and gave him a long-distance attack. You wouldn't have been dumb enough to actually slit my throat, cuz den dat leader of yours woulda had your butt. I knew what was going on and Zhu Hao Ta win." Joey replied as he walked off to check on his sister and best friend. Kiba stood with his jaw slack until he heard another voice say, "He's right, you know. He had you exactly where he wanted you. If Tsunade-sama hadn't called the match, you would have lost." Kiba turned to see Neji standing there watching the others go up to the new group to check on injuries and the like. "Whatever. Still don't like them. We could have found those two just fine without these guys' help. Now we're going to have to babysit some brats who can't even take care of themselves." Kiba sulked. "My assessment is that they can protect themselves just fine, Kiba. There must be another reason you are against them being here. It matters not to me if our Hokage believed we needed assistance from another realm as long as they are not burdens and work efficiently," came the almost monotone voice of Shino. Kiba just sighed. "I don't really know what it is, but I don't like the smell of them." Mahodo stood over Yugi and Serenity, watching the ninja all around them to see if they would make another move that would warrant an attack. Kiba watched as Sakura rushed over to the green-clad ninja, healing him, then checking over the other two. The blonde-haired boy ran over to the small group, asking if his sister and best friend were all right. Tsunade walked up to the dog trainer. "They'll be a huge help, especially with a fair amount of training. The girl may be the weakest, even if their leader looks it. You all underestimated them, though. I will give Lee some credit for realizing how strong they were before taking on that mage. You still need to work on your observation skills, Kiba. Both you and Ino. Now, go get Akamaru and have your sister look him over." After Kiba nodded and walked over to his singed dog, she walked over to the others. "How is everything, Sakura?" "Lee's fine, tired, but fine, as is the kid, but the girl won't wake up. She's healed, and I looked her over, but," came the answer. The village leader nodded. "Take care of Joey's wounds. I'll look at Serenity." The girl nodded and moved over to the blonde. Tsunade began to look the girl over and also could find nothing wrong. Yugi noticed the worry in her eyes and put his hand on her arm, getting her attention. "She'll be fine. She's never accessed her shadow magic before, and with all the energy Mana took to defeat Ino, it drained her. She's sleeping because she used too much energy, and Mana had a fatal hit. I took care of the wound Ino inflicted on her spirit." "How are you okay then? If this was the first time using those powers, shouldn't you and the blonde be weak?" Kakashi inquired. "I've had a lot of shadow magic practice over the years. I was trained in two of the sections, healing and summoning, up to a couple of months ago. Plus, I've been exposed to the shadow realm a few times, so I've gotten used to it. Joey's not weak because the flame swordsman returned himself, thus giving the life force he had taken back to Joey. Mana didn't leave of her own will. Yugi explained. Shadow realm? The adults looked unsure and worried as Jiraiya repeated the title. Only certain people can access the shadow realm, so I wouldn't worry about it. I'll help Joey and Serenity work on what their guardian says their main power is. I will need to work on what Ra told me as well, Yugi assured. You'll need training from us as well, especially you, Yugi, with your huge amounts of chakra. Joey will probably need it too because of his easy anger flare-ups, Kakashi began. It's not really anger, it's protectiveness. Joey's like that. He's taken me as his little brother, and Serenity had medical problems that make him even more protective of his baby sister. It's not only her medical problems, Yug. Yours worry me too. Especially now Dad you've been having some flare-ups with ya diabetes. Joey broke in. Yugi blushed and looked down. Diabetes? How long have you had it, and what kind of problems does Serenity have? Tsunade asked. I've had it since I was a kid. Joey actually found out by accident when I had an episode at home, and Grandpa told him what was happening. Serenity was born with an eye degeneration disease that was causing her to go blind. That was why I gave him the $3 million. To give her the surgery she needed to be able to see and not worry about having a relapse. Yugi told the woman. Let's get back to my office and have a look at the two of you, then get things set up for your training. Tsunade nodded. Joey lifted Serenity into his arms and followed after Yugi who trailed behind the village leader. Hinata walked after, still somewhat amazed by what she had seen. She was glad she activated her Byakugan and watched what had transpired in the woods. They were incredible, weren't they? I've never seen such summons creatures. I wonder what kind of contract they have for them. Neji commented. Those weren't summons as we think of. Those were spirits of some kind. I don't think they have a contract. Hinata answered. You're right. Those beings didn't have chakra as ones like Pakun and Gamakichi have. Do you think they can help us, or will? Power like that has a tendency of souring the user. Hinata shook her head in disagreement. I can see their true intentions and their true selves. You know that was why Father never wanted me to get any stronger. I could reveal the true nature of the elders. I know he was doing it to protect me, but it only hurt. Anyway, they aren't completely pure. Yugi has a great amount of innocence, but it's coupled with this wisdom that I've never even seen in the elders of the village. His spirit is this bright golden light, but there is this darkness that surrounds it, almost like a protective blanket. There is no evil in this darkness, just power and protectiveness. Serenity is, probably, just as innocent, but she doesn't have quite the wisdom he does. Her light is this pale shade of red covered by a creature that reminds me of a red oriental dragon. It matches the golden light Yugi has. Joey seems to be the least innocent, but has a pure heart. The light of his spirit has dimmed areas with shame, anger, and a dark past. His barrier reminds me of a large blue warrior, ready to fight. He would do whatever he must to protect those he cares about, but he's wary of new people and violent towards any that hurt them, especially those two. That's why his killing intent keeps spiking when around Kiba. He's a possible enemy. Neji just nodded. A one that can help get those two back will be heroes here and in Suna. I just hope they can do it. Hinata agreed. She wanted Naruto back. She had made a vow that she would tell him her feelings when he was back by her side, even if he didn't feel the same way. His missing like this scared her too badly to back out. Once in the tower, Serenity was laid down onto a cot Tsunade had in the room, and the woman motioned for Yugi to come around to her side of the desk, beginning to scan him. She noticed that some areas were being healed of the disease. This darkness was gently touching the channels and receptors, opening them to receive the insulin his small body produced. She added her own healing chakra to increase the speed of activation. She was amazed when the darkness reached out to investigate her chakra as if it were an enemy. The Hokage could feel the darkness push against her energy before going back to what it was doing. She got this feeling of someone telling her to be careful, or she would regret a false move. After a few minutes she was done and got another feeling of the same regal being thanking her for helping their Aibo. She wasn't sure what the feeling meant, and she wasn't going to say anything to anyone until she was able to do a little research on the subject. There you go, all cured. You don't have to worry about diabetes anymore. You have quite the healing system. It was working to heal the apparatus itself. I just followed its lead. Now, let's get you someone to work individually with you in extra training so that when the time comes, you'll be ready. Hinata, I want you to work with Serenity. She'll need you to work slowly with her. Iruka, I want you to work with all three. Give them the basic village information and some of the other basics. Things you would teach your class at the academy. You can choose how you want to do this. Kakashi, you'll work with Joey, and Jiraiya and Neji, you'll both be working with Yugi. Neji, I want you to help him with accessing his chakra and controlling it, but mostly I want you to keep the pervert in focus. You know how his ADD kicks in if a woman walks past. Once you get a little further in training, Yugi, I'll also work with you on healing. Jiraiya, you'll help him with summoning and anything else you think he may need. Oh, and if you throw him off a cliff like you did Naruto, I'll tie you down, beat you, then let their summons take care of you, and something tells me that mage won't be very nice. Once she was done speaking to the ninja and causing Jiraiya to pale, Tsunade turned to the newcomers. You will work on pulling forth your guardians. She was interrupted by Yugi shyly raising his hand. When she nodded, he said, we each have at least one that we can call upon already. Other than them, we'll probably have to work our way up the star levels. I can easily summon Mahato the mage from earlier, Moroku the black chaos mage, and Koro my Karibo. I also have the potential to summon all of the spirits of ancient times. We should probably talk about what each of us can summon. Joey, you'll be over the warriors, right? The blonde nodded. Yeah, I got warriors, beast warriors, and selects of Da beasts and dragons. My guardians are Junpei Da flame swordsman from earlier, Hitori Da red eyes black dragon, and Angie Da axe raider. I can also use any magic cards that go along with them. Maybe some low-level traps, too. Yeah, I have reign over all traps and magic, but I think they work like my monster summons. Levels. I guess Obelisk spoke to you, huh? What did he tell you? Yugi continued. It was almost as if they had forgotten the ninja were still in the room. Joey nodded again. I'm Da judge of people's hearts and can see into dear souls. He noticed Yugi's eyes widen. What's up, Yug? You have Shoddy's job. The teen's eyes focused on his best friend. We have the items within us. The confused look on Joey's face made the boy continue. Joey, that was the job of the scale and key. Ra told me I have the ability to control enemies, locate anyone or anything I concentrate on, and my power increases with people I trust around me, and I have a large knowledge of the shadows. You know what that means. The boy's eyes were sad. Yeah, you got Da rod, ring, and Da puzzle. Joey could tell what Yugi was thinking, so he threw his arm around his shoulders and laughed. And once again you prove just how unnormal you are, Yug. You get Da one's dad came with spirits. Well, 2 spirits and on severe case of schizophrenia. Now, I guess I gotta walk around acting like Shoddy. Least you can act normal. But what does dad mean about Ren? Yugi laughed at Joey's comical nature. Well, most likely she has the eye and necklace within her. What that means for her power, I'm not sure. Slifer told me I was the seer. I see a person's intentions and the truth behind them and where their current path will lead. I can also see where they went astray. Serenity weakly answered. The 2 boys rushed over to her, hugging her. Yugi pulled back with a thoughtful look. Pegasus and Ishizu's powers. The power to read minds and the power to see the past and a possible future. The 3 gave us the powers of the shadows. Who are your guardians, Serenity? Mana the dark magician girl, Chihiro the mystical elf, and Rangaku the harpy lady. I'm supposed to be over the female monsters. Yugi nodded, but Joey spoke up. Wait, what about Mai? I thought the harpies were her guardians. Are others watching over her? Will she be okay without them? What about without us? You know how she gets if she thinks she's been left alone. Calm down, Joey. She'll be fine. Mahato told me time is different between the 2 worlds. We could be here for years, but only be gone a few days there. If they start to worry about us, their guardians will tell them what's going on. Mai will be okay, as will Grandpa and the others, Yugi assured. Joey got a wicked look on his face and chuckled almost darkly. Bet Den Tristan'll be sorry for running out on us. We get ninja trainin' while he sits at home wonderin' what kinda adventure we're havin' this time. Tsunade cleared her throat, causing the three teens to jump and look at her sheepishly. Meet up with your assigned ninja trainers tomorrow. For now, Hinata, Iruka, show these three around the village. The rest of you, go get some rest. The groups nodded and left. Do you think this will work, Tsunade-sama? Shizune spoke up. I hope so. Then again, I just hope that all of this is just overkill. I hope those two will come back well before these three have finished any part of their training. Tsunade looked out the window, before sending off another group of search parties. Iruka led the group around with Hinata, both telling them what was where and what were the places to go that were respectable. Many the two told them to not go to seemed quiet friendly, so Yugi finally asked what was wrong with those shops. The girl's eyes flashed slightly and the man's gentle face took on a sneer. They can't see a true hero when one walks in front of them, asking for service or help. They turn away a small child or give him their worst equipment at the most expensive price or the clothes that are most likely to get him killed or the lowest quality food mostly borderline rotten in hopes of keeping him weak and small. Maybe kill him. Iruka answered. Their eyes are cold when looking at him. They do it to show their hate or to completely ignore his existence. He kept up a false smile as a mask, but inside he was dying, being ripped apart. He had the courage to move on, become stronger, and fights to protect them. You would think they would begin to acknowledge him for his heart and his kindness, but no, those shop owners still hate him. Hinata went on where Iruka stopped. Why? Was the one-word question they all had. That is something only he or Tsunade-sama can tell you, as a law was put into effect against speaking of it by name to anyone who doesn't already know. Iruka told them. And it's not your secret to share. Yugi added, earning nod from them both. But the reason for this hatred, it's not his fault. He didn't choose for it to happen to him. When we found out, we were all surprised he hadn't done just as the villagers said he would just because of how badly they were hurting him. Most of us still have problems with this village, or rather some of its inhabitants. We each confronted our parents and elders on the matter, and some learned that their fathers actually protected him from riots. My father was too wrapped up in our clan, then in mourning over his brother's then my mother's deaths to help. He's asked for forgiveness and is better now, but I'm still wary of his actions. Hinata elaborated. They started walking again, Yugi pensively following. Something was not right in this village. He needed more information before he could understand what it was exactly, but there was tension that he didn't like. He was broken from his thoughts by someone calling out to their group. He looked to where the call sounded from and saw an old man waving them over, a mildly worried look upon his face. The moment they stepped up, the three could tell it was a restaurant of some kind. Any word? The man instantly asked. Neji Nissan and the others found their trail, but lost it when they hit a river. They're hiding their chakra signatures. We're getting closer, though. These three are here to, hopefully, help find them. Hinata answered. The man looked disappointed. I hope we find him soon. The longer those two stay out there, the more afraid I get that they've been captured. The two ninja nodded in agreement, heads down slightly. The three friends looked at each other, sadly. Joey's stomach decided to break the tension by letting out a resounding growl. The boys sheepishly smiled while Yugi and Serenity giggled. The old man smiled, as did the other two. Let's get you three something to eat. Sit down and order whatever you want, and it's on the house. The only thing I ask is that you do whatever you can to help bring Naruto back. The old man chuckled, handing each a menu. The three quickly learned it was a ramen stand called Ichiraku. The three ordered and were quickly filled. They thanked the old man and followed their ninja tour guides. They passed the many clan houses and Hinata told them who in their group of friends lived where. After about 15 minutes of walking they came upon a dark sector of the village. This too was an old clan house, but Yugi could feel a darkness emanating from it. It reminded him of Malik's Yami Merrick aura. What's here? He cautiously asked. This is, or rather was, the Uchiha clan house. The last two members of the clan turned their backs on the village. One by killing his family except for his younger brother whom he tortured. The younger brother was too power-hungry for revenge to see what he had here, to the point of almost killing his best friend, Naruto. After that he ran off to another village that tried to destroy ours. Both have lost their honor as ninja and have been engulfed in darkness. Hinata spoke up. Naruto still thinks Sasuke, the younger brother, can be saved. We've also been studying the seal Orochimaru branded him with to see if it's influencing him and to find a way to remove it. Iruka reminded her. This house has a darkness surrounding it. It's close to the shadow magic Malik used. I wonder, Karibo. Come out, please. Yugi summoned the small fuzzball. Could you check out his house and let me know what the source of this darkness is? The creature bounced up and down as if nodding before flying into the grounds. Yugi, with his back to the road, closed his eyes and, allowing the eye of Ra to appear on his forehead, watched all Karibo saw. Tears came to his eyes as he saw all the blood that had been spilt. He could feel the spirits of those that had been killed, even if they had already passed on. The children who had lost their lives were what hurt him the most. The adults had corrupted spirits, as if they were planning something almost evil. The tears fell as he came across a spike of fear. In his mind he could hear a crying child begging for his life while asking why this was done. He could feel the boy's spirit and heart shatter. This feeling was close to what he felt when Yami had almost killed Kaiba to win a duel that got out of hand, when Joey had almost lost his soul to Merrick, and when he had his body broken apart by the shadow duel with Malik. Karibo moved on from that spot, but Yugi could still feel the terror. It spiked again in what he imagined was the dojo, the source of the darkness. A large stain of blood lay in the middle of the room. The darkness was emanating from that spot powerfully, not more so than others he had come across. There was that battle with Zork, but it was strong. He began to get flashes. A son confronting his father about plans against the village. A mother trying to break up the resulting fight. The father trying to kill the son while threatening his other son. This man defending himself, resulting in the death of both of his parents, father using mother as a human shield. Other clan members coming in, the elders ordering for the teen's death. The teen killing those that attacked him or for killing the small children and teens. The end result, Yugi saw, was the death of the entire clan. The boy came back to the dojo to hopefully save his mother, but she was gone. The last image the small teen saw was a small child throwing himself into the dojo crying for his parents and brother, only to see the teen standing over them both, blood covering him and the adults dead. Come back, Koro, I've seen enough. Thank you. Asterisk. The monster appeared in front of him before cuddling against him, drying his tears. The elder brother was attacked, and he hid the real reason from his brother. A group of elderly men and women ordered the attack. The adults were killing off the children and teens, hoping to blame him for their deaths. They were planning to try and overthrow the village. He tried to stop them, but he was too late and things got too out of hand. His brother found him trying to save his mother, but she was already gone. He didn't want his brother to know the truth behind their clan's evil deeds, so he told him he did it all without provocation, just so he could test himself. It shattered the younger one completely, but also the older. He hates himself and what he had to do that night. Yugi explained what he had seen and felt. Are you sure? If that's what happened, that changes everything, especially if Itachi is innocent. This information, if true, may even open a new path for Sasuke to be able to follow. Can you confirm this, Yugi? Iruka was surprised at this occurrence. I'm not sure I would be able to tell. That's Serenity's power, but she hasn't been trained yet. I may be able to get one of my summons to sense the truth from him directly. Where is the older brother? Yugi stated honestly. He's a missing nin now in the group. Naruto and Garasama are trying to escape. We don't know where he could be at this point in time. Maybe we can get one of Jiraiya's spies to lure him here after the three of you have more training, and in the meantime watch over him. He can be one of Serenity's first tries with her abilities. Iruka elaborated. The group nodded and once again set off after Yugi had been able to calm. The next homes they passed were very different from the rest. One could hear barking coming from one while the other was hidden by a thick forest. These are Kiba and Shino's homes. Shino's family are bug users and very secretive, but Shino is a very good friend. He's been in the last 5 search missions for Naruto and Garasama. He misses Naruto's chaotic nature. Hinata explained, giggling in the end. He was the quiet one with the hooded jacket covering his face and the sunglasses. Joey looked at how different the two clan houses were and couldn't help but try to analyze them with a dualist mind. Of course he didn't get anywhere, but he just wanted the image of a friendly, yet creepy Weevla out of his HEA. They continued on past a deer ranch that drew Serenity's attention. There was a peacefulness surrounding the ranch making one want to sleep. She walked over to the fence, petting a doe's head. This is Shikamaru's home. He's the one who's been putting together the strategies for the rescue missions. He's been beating himself up over their disappearance because he was the leader on the mission they were on, and his girlfriend is Gara-sama's older sister. Iruka informed them. About then the door opened, and a teen about their age stepped out. His shoulders were slouched, his hands were deep in his pockets, his eyes lazily looked around, and his hair spiked above his head much like a pineapple. His eyes caught sight of the 5 standing outside the fence. He perked up and jogged over. "Hinata, Iruka-sensei, have they found them?" Both shook their heads no, and he slumped again. "Ah, I was hoping that sending that group would work. They found their trail, but lost it once they hit a river. I think they may go back after a rest. Tsunade-sama had these 3 summoned to help us. They've already beaten Ino, Kiba, and Lee, but she says they have a lot of training to do. They're powerful, and I know they'll help us greatly," Hinata praised. Shikamaru turned to the 3 and studied them. Yugi and Serenity blushed under the scrutiny, and Yugi began to squirm as he never liked attention. They have potential. Who was the one to beat Ino? They all pushed her out of their minds. Yugi actually caused her to release the Just You herself, and the being Serenity summoned defeated her, Iruka informed the lazy genius. The genius' eyes widened as he once again looked over the said 2. "You were able to take out Ino? Who defeated Lee?" He knew that had to have been a feat because of the teen's speed. Not many could match, let alone surpass that speed. Iruka pointed to Yugi, causing Shikamaru's eyes to widen yet again. That tiny kid defeated the powerhouse and speed maniac known as Lee. Well, actually it was Mahato that defeated Lee, but I summoned him. I was healing Serenity from where Ino had attacked her mind and spirit, Yugi admitted. Yug, you were the one that distracted them to give us time to prepare for whatever they were going to do. Joey spoke up, causing Yugi to blush again. You defeated Kiba, then? Shikamaru pointed out, facing Joey. Yeah, me and Junpei got him. Granted, it was Junpei sending fire after the dog while I kept Kiba busy till Junpei could come over to help out with him. It ended with Tsunade calling it with both of us at each other's throats, literally. The blonde informed him. Shikamaru just shook his head, chuckling quietly. We are showing them around. Do you want to come along? Hinata invited. Sure, why not? I don't need to meet up with Choji for some time anyway. The shadow user shrugged. They continued to walk past the pastures of the Nara ranch. The next place they came across was a fenced-in area whose gate had the kanji for eat on it. This is the Akamichi household. The guy I'm meeting up with later lives here. They're a family of chefs and ninjas who are always making new concoctions for both the general public at their restaurant and for ninjas to increase the taste of the bars and things we have to eat on long missions and can't bring too much food. Naruto was their favorite food tester. He'd eat anything and give a truthful opinion as to what he thought. Shikamaru explained. The air was heavy with the scent of food being cooked, causing Joey's stomach to growl. I think I could stay quite a while in that place. The others laughed slightly as they continued on. The next houses they passed were smaller non-clan houses. The next large housing complex was huge and had a traditional Japanese feel to it. There was also a coldness that surrounded the barricaded house. Yugi's eyes narrowed slightly. Something wasn't right here. This is my clan's house. Neji and I live here with the rest of our clan. Hinata's pace quickened, as if she were trying to get away from the area as quickly as possible. The others increased their speed as well, to keep up with her. The gate opened and the air seemed to grow colder. Yugi turned at the sound and got a bad feeling from the man that stepped out. His eyes were hard and grew harder when he saw the raven-haired girl of their tour group. Hinata, where have you been? I waited for you to come for your training this morning. You wasted my time with your gallivanting. What was more important than our training session this morning? The man's voice came out cold and scathing, rubbing Joey the wrong way. The blonde practically growled when he looked over at the girl who seemed to be folding in on herself. I was asked by Tsunade-sama to assist Kakashi-sensei and Jiraiya-sama with an assignment, then to help assess the newcomers with us. Anyo, and she asked Iruka-sensei and myself to get them acquainted with the village. I'm sorry. Next time I shall tell Tsunade-sama that I must decline her order because I must be home. The girl's head was bowed and her voice was quiet, nearly no hint of the girl they knew before. See to it that that is what you do, Haishi growled out. Oh, so you think you're better than the leader of this village, Da woman dat if she knew you felt dat way would come after you. I bet you'd wet yourself if dat were to happen. Should we try out my theory, you poor excuse of a human? Joey sneered, coming to stand in front of the glaring man and staring him in the eye. And just who are you, boy? Came the cold man's reply. Iruka stepped forward, hoping to ease the tension. These three have been summoned by Tsunade-sama to assist in the retrieval of Naruto and Gaara-sama. Their names are Yugi Mouto, Joey Wheeler, and Serenity Wheeler. The last two are brother and sister. I really don't care who they are. This one is in my way. Hishi cut the young man off. Yeah, well, I don't like your crappy attitude. You need to learn how to treat people. You act like you think you are a ruler or something. Well, guess what? I've known a ruler, and he was a better man than you when he was 5. So this is the Hoka guy's idea. Send an idiot to find an idiot. Out of my sight, you worthless urchin. Hishi demanded, his cold eyes barring into Joey's golden brown ones. Joey began to seethe more. He growled, a sound coming out much like that of an animal's growl. The teen's eyes began to glow a bright blue as his anger grew. His hand floated up, as if by its own accord. His palm was facing Hishi and a black ball with blue and purple crackling lightning began to form. Joey, no, calm down. Yugi leapt forward, grabbing a hold of the outstretched arm, pulling the shadow magic from the boy as he started to calm. The blonde was breathing heavily from the strain of activating his powers. However, all the work Yugi did was shot when Hishi opened his mouth again. Yes, do as your master says, you mutt. Joey lashed out again, breaking from Yugi's grasp, his shadow magic blazing. Hishi activated his Byakugan, preparing to fight, but had to immediately shut it off due to the sheer power and strength of the chakra and shadow magic coursing through him, and for the first time, Hishi was worried about fighting the boy. Yugi lunged forward again, his own shadow magic active. He was hoping it would work like last time, but he could only slow it down, and thanks to having to heal Serenity, he was tired and mostly spent. Mahodo, I need your help. I can't hold Joey back for much longer, came his desperate call to his guardian. Instantly the mage appeared, assessed the situation, and activated the energy drain magic card, ripping Joey's power from him and leaving the said teen weak. He collapsed into Yugi's arms, nearly overtaking the small teen. Mahodo picked the blonde up, saving his young charge from a crushing. What happened, young one? Why would Joey of all people lash out like that? Let's just say that the sir over there used some actions a little too close to home. Now we just need to get him somewhere he can rest. Yugi answered. Oh, you too, Yugi. You've used way too much energy as it is. Serenity commented, to which the boy nodded. I'll go see if Hokage-sama has living quarters set up for you yet. I'll be back as quickly as I can. Iruka said before leaping off in the direction of the Hokage tower. I guess we'll just have to wait here until he gets back, Yugi sighed. Please. Come inside and rest while you wait. I am sorry for my previous actions, Hishi offered. Yugi looked into the man's eyes and read him. The dark-haired man could feel the teen probing his mind, looking for any lies he may be saying. Once he saw that the man was being truthful, he nodded and motioned for the others to follow him inside the compound. I'm going to head on and meet up with Choji. It was nice meeting you guys. It'll be interesting to see what you can do in the future. Shikamaru waved before slowly walking off to see his friend. Once the group was inside and settled on the many couches in the main room, Yugi decided to question the man on what had happened on the streets. Why did you verbally attack us like that? You didn't even know who we were, and you just lit into us as if we were beneath you. You do realize we could have been liaisons from another village or visitors thinking about taking residence here after we proved ourselves by helping to find the two that are so important to your leader. Do you believe it is such a good idea to react in such a way to strangers being escorted and given tours by 3 of your well-known ninja? It was not at you that my anger was toward, nor was it aimed at my daughter. I just dismissed a council meeting with the elders of this clan, and some of the things discussed both angered and disgusted me. You see, I am the leader of this clan and must sit through the complaints of my council on a weekly basis, and that meeting was today, Hishi answered. When am I to receive the brand, father? Hinata's quiet voice spoke up. I was able to take that idea off the table, but my advisors have set up another offer. They do not believe anyone would want to be wedded to you due to your lack of abilities, as they put it, so they want you to be married off to a noble for our backing and our money. I have gotten them to put off picking anyone for you until you were 18, but they are not happy about it. I'm sure they are doing it now behind my back. I am sorry, but there does not seem to be anything else I can do, daughter. Hyuga answered, causing the girl to sigh in relief, but look away in sadness. You mean your control is that weak? You are the head of this clan, right? These elders are just your advisors. You only have to take their ideas into consideration. You are the one who tells the clan overall what to do. If you can stop the branding, then this can't be harder to stop. Just tell them that it's not what you want for your own daughter. They can't argue with you on that. It's a selfless act on your part, and if they push it, it'll just make them look bad in the eyes of the rest of the clan. Hyuga interjected. It's not that simple, boy. You have no idea how hard it is for one person to govern an entire clan, especially one as prestigious and large as this one. Hyuga's cold eyes fell onto Hyuga, but the boy didn't back down. Actually, he seemed angered almost. An angry crimson color began to mix with the gentle amethyst. You think you have it oh so bad, then? This is one tiny clan compared to what one man in olden days had to care for. He ruled an entire country. His advisors wanted to marry off his son because they could not control him, and he did not believe the way they wanted him to. He would be a pharaoh to bring peace and prosperity to the entire country, but they only wanted to fill their own pockets. They had twisted the truth to the point to where the citizens thought it would be best the boy go away. However, because he was king, the father's word was law and no one could go against what he said without severe punishment. He, in order to protect his son from a life of unhappiness, set forth the law that under his rule and his son's that arranged marriage wasn't allowed. His son was allowed to stay and a short time later became the pharaoh. During his short reign, he saved the world by giving up his own life, his spirit, to seal away the demon that had been released upon the land by an evil-spirited tomb robber out for revenge. If the father would have bowed down like you did and are doing, then the world we are from would have been ransacked and destroyed 5 or so times over. Step up, do your appointed job, and protect your clan. Hyuga growled out. Mahodo chuckled. If there was one thing that got Hyuga's temper started, it was something taking light of his knowledge and acting as if they were the victim of everything. Your ancestor would be proud, young one. He always did say you would have been a powerful pharaoh. Hyuga instantly began to blush and look down sheepishly. I'm sorry I let my temper get the best of me, but I don't like to see people sell themselves short, especially if I do know someone who's had it worse in the line of conversation. No, you are right. I have been taking the easy way out by letting them dictate every one of my moves to me. I will take your advice under stronger consideration. Thank you. What is your special talent? Oh, well, I've always been the best at every game I've ever played. If I were to ever be beaten at one, then I would study every move in that game until I had mastered it. At home, I'm actually called the King of Games. Once I've mastered the game, no one can defeat me if they play fair, and sometimes even if they don't. Hyuga answered. So you are a strategist. Would you mind if I tested out your powers while we wait for Iruka to return and for your friend to awaken? Hyuga asked. Sure, what game? How about chess? I know it is not nearly as trying as Go or Shogi, but we may not have enough time to get a game of those started. I'll have someone get the board. Hyuga offered as Hyuga nodded in consent. Hitsu. I need you to retrieve the chess set for our guest and myself. The stoic-looking man nodded, bowed, and left to fulfill the request. A moment later he returned with the set in his hands and laid it between the two players. Hyuga stood up and smiled at him. Thank you very much, Hitsu, sir. Would you like to stay and play after we are finished? The man was taken aback, but politely declined in any case. No thank you, young man. I need to get back to my other duties, but I would propose a rain check. Maybe at a later date we could play another game. Chess has never been my strong suit. Hitsu smiled at Hyuga before bowing, turning, and leaving. The actions for the branch member surprised Hyuga. The man was one of his more disgruntled members, and he had never even seen the man smirk, let alone give the gentle smile he flashed Hyuga. This boy was defiantly someone to watch, as he had the seeming ability to warm anyone just by looking at them. Hyuga turned back to him. Are you ready to start? At the man's nod, he sat down and looked at the pieces before giggling. White. The usual symbol of Hikari, which was my old nickname by a friend and brother and just so happens to be my middle name, how fitting. The older man just nodded in acknowledgement, until he felt a shift in the air. He looked over at his opponent to see if he felt it as well when he realized just what the shift was caused by. The boy now had an almost royal air about him, and when he looked into his eyes he felt as if they could see into his very soul. In that instant he knew why this boy was given the title of King of Games, and why he was chosen as one of the ones to bring back the two heroes. The two began their first turns, and within 20 minutes Yugi had soundly defeated the clan head. The air about him faded, and it seemed as if he were the same sweet child that he had met outside the compound earlier. However, none of that was really registered as the man tried to figure out just how the heck the boy had beaten him so easily. Yugi giggled again at the hawked look and was one of the only two to acknowledge the opening of the door when Iruka and Neji stepped in. Both were confused why the two Hyuga were so out of it until they saw the chessboard and Yugi's large grin. "I won," the boy announced. "But how so easily?" came Hiashi's still shocked voice. "Oh, I mastered chess when I was 4. Grandpa just let me play around with it after he taught me the rules. 3 months later I challenged him to a game and won all 6 we ended up playing. After that, as a way to test my IQ, he showed me both Go and Shogi, and I mastered them within a year. Like I said, games are my expertise," Yugi answered. "You should play against Shikamaru then. Shogi is his favorite game, and he has an IQ of well over 200. He may be able to give you a real challenge," Neji stated before greeting the others and bowing off to go clean up after the mission. "Yeah, I'll have to ask him sometime then. So, Iruka, has Tsunade-sama found us a place to stay?" Yugi smiled. "Yes, and we'll go as soon as Joey wakes up," Iruka nodded. "Let's go den," came Joey's slurred voice. He sat up and looked around before his eyes landed on the chess set. "Oh, you played a game against Da stuck up and didn't wake me? That's no fair. I wanted to see ya beat him, Yug." Yugi giggled. "You needed to rest after all that energy was drained away. Besides, it was just a small game. There will be others, I'm very sure of that. Are you ready now, Joey? Can you get up?" "Yeah, I'm good. Let's go," the blonde stated as he slowly stood up. Yugi turned to the clan leader and bowed. "Thank you for letting us rest here, and please, take my advice to heart. If you don't, it very well could ruin quite a few people's lives." With that said, the boy turned to walk away with his friends. "I will do just that, Yugi, for today you have gained my respect," Hiashi admitted. Yugi flashed him and Hinata a smile before disappearing out the door and following Iruka to a large compound. This compound hasn't been used in 16 years, ever since most of the clan was killed by an attacking force that nearly destroyed the village. "Your house will be that smaller one over there. There are exactly 3 bedrooms upstairs, so there is enough room for all of you. Hokage-sama has had it cleaned, stocked, and repaired, so everything should be up to par. I'll be back in a couple of hours so that you can get clothes and training gear for when your lessons begin. These new clothes will save your present clothing from getting torn and so that you can blend in a bit easier." He led them into the house before waving off to get back to his class preparation. The 3 sighed before heading up the stairs and to choosing their rooms for their long stay. Just thought I should add in the fact that, no, Yami is not secretly returning from the afterlife to heal Yugi's illness or play games for him. Some of his spirit may have been left behind due to their connection, but Yami's not really there. Now, if anyone wants him to be, then let me know. I'll try to find some way to bring him back to the group, if only for the length of this adventure, but he won't be the main hero. Yugi, Joey, and Serenity are the ones in the spotlight, and as much as I really do love Yami, he was given too much time to be in the forefront. It made it seem like Yugi was only there as a vessel, and when he did help, it was kinda like, oh yeah, he is a main character who can do stuff. I had forgotten. Besides, I love Yugi and I think he is awesomeness lol. Thanks for watching, guys. That's it for today, guys.